Boom, we are live, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to the Nolan Hawkeye Anthony YouTube channel. And I thank all of you for being here, wherever you may be, and of course, however you may be listening. I'm going to say right off the bat, please consider hitting that subscribe button. It really helps me. At the very least, like, comment. It really helps with the whatever engagement, really helps the video and promotes the video on the YouTube algorithm. I'm going to get straight into it because I have limited time, of course, outside of what I do here on YouTube. I also have, of course, a life, as you guys all well know, outside of it that I have to take care of. I just found out, and I'm sure that it was posted for a while now, but it was the first time I had seen it, that and it was on one hand, it was an absolute stunner, but on the other, it wasn't, which I will explain. And I'm gonna try to not allow my Iowa fandom to get let loose too much. I want to keep this professional uh, and within the bounds and everything like that, as I normally am. I mean, I never go outside of it, but I'm going to try and rein it in a little bit. And the news, of course, that I'm talking about is Kadyn Proctor, one of the highest rated players to come out of the state of Iowa, who spurned Iowa at the last minute coming out of high school after being committed to Iowa for several months, only to decommit in the final day or around the final day of signing day to sign with Alabama. He had taken visits to Oregon and he had taken visits to Alabama. It was very interesting because he had actually taken a visit to Alabama as one of his 5 official visits. And so, from my mind, it didn't seem like they were a legitimate, because as I was telling fans on my channel, if there was anybody who was a legitimate contender, it was Oregon, because had Alabama been a legitimate contender, he would have just chosen them at the beginning. Then he plays at Alabama. He starts at left tackle, has an up and down season, but definitely one of the best freshmen in the country. And Nick Saban retires. He chooses to play for Iowa almost immediately upon the season ending. There was pushback from other programs about tampering and this and that. After Kadyn Proctor had opened his mouth and not been smarter about what he would say publicly, and he basically told on himself and the Iowa program. Now, I'm not me saying that is not condoning what Iowa did or whatever. It's just, but at the same time, guys, there's a certain reality that exists in the world of college sports right now. People are not playing by the rules, okay? And I'm not saying, listen, I'm a rule follower, okay? I believe in policy, procedure, guidelines, laws, and all of that good stuff within society. That's the only way society functions. But I'm just saying that the only thing that Iowa got from the whole Kadyn Proctor saga, when all is said and done, well, let me just stay with the story. I'm getting ahead of myself. He chooses to play for Iowa. He ends up getting Iowa a recruiting violation, a self-reported recruiting violation, because he didn't know how to actually answer a question the way most Iowa players do. He did a terrible job answering the questions, and basically, like I said, and I'll get to, told on Iowa, which is not the end all be all, but it is worth noting. And everybody, including myself, thought that it was okay, everything was fine, but it wasn't. And he is deciding, according to multiple sources, to transfer to Alabama. So when all is said and done, and this is kind of where I was getting to, when all is said and done, all Iowa has to show for Kadyn Proctor is a big fat goose egg. In fact, it's more than a big fat goose egg. They lost tons of money recruiting. They lost tons of NIL money, money that they will never get back that could have went to other players, other recruits. At this point, I would have rather have had Iowa get multiple 4 stars or high 3 stars than to have engaged in this debacle that is Kadyn Proctor. Okay. I've never seen anything like it. Now, I'm also not surprised by anything anymore within college sports. And this is why I always tell you, Iowa fans, you need to support the program above the players, because the players are going to do whatever they want. They are going, no matter what they're going to do. Loyalty, there is no more loyalty. Okay. It's gone. That has been gone for several years now. And so when I see fans that have this like unwavering support of players where you can't critique them, you can't criticize them, guys, you need to understand some of these top players live some of the best lives you could imagine. Okay. Kadyn Proctor is going to be able to spurn Iowa, and it won't affect him one bit. It'll only affect the University of Iowa. And I'm not saying that to throw shade at him. I'm saying that to illustrate a bigger point, which is if you're a University of, because I always say there's Iowa fans who are more fans of the players, and there's Iowa fans who are more fans of the university. You need to be a fan of the university because players come and go. Okay. And they will change their allegiance like that. So when all is said and done, Iowa lost money on NIL. They lost money in recruiting. Just very broadly speaking, they lost a crap ton of money on the recruiting trail that they could have devoted to other players, other recruits. And it's all for nothing. Now I guarantee the Sean Box and the David Eichholz of the world will say, well, you have to take your chance. If you want your program to get from here to here, you have to take your shot. You have to go after a player like that, especially if they're from the state of Iowa. And to a large extent, I do agree. Okay. And I'm not blaming Iowa for going after him again. I'm not, because really, to me, this says far more about his character than it does about Iowa. Matter of fact, Iowa, when all is said and done, showed that they're actually a really good institution. They let bygones be bygones. They looked past Kadyn Proctor spurning them on the last second and gave him a chance again. And he still spurned them again. I mean, I can't believe it. So to me, this says far more about his character and who he is and what his motivations were than anything. Nobody else will talk about this but me. No other Hawkeye contributor will talk about this besides me, but I guarantee this was his plan from day one. I guarantee, because those of you who think that Kadyn Proctor, because I already know I've been doing this too long, there's going to be Iowa fans who immediately criticize the University of Iowa and say, "Oh, well, what did Iowa do? Well, why didn't Kadyn Proctor like Iowa? Why did he feel the need to go elsewhere?" Stop it. That's ridiculous. Okay. Iowa showed their character in letting bygones be bygones. This has nothing to do with that. I guarantee what happened is from moment one, and I've told you guys that this is what is possible. I guarantee from moment one, Kadyn Proctor went onto the transfer portal to see how much money he could get. This is what it's been since he came out of high school, is about the money. He did it coming out of high school. Okay. Now he was able to camouflage it by saying that Alabama's this really good program and Iowa is not, and I want to play with the big boys. Spare me. Iowa still plays in the Big Ten. They're one of the best programs in the country at producing NFL talent, including on the offensive line. The reasoning he gave was nonsense. All right. The only legitimacy to what he said is, yes, Alabama had a shot to play for the national championship, whereas Iowa probably did not. Okay, but it's not like Iowa is this run of the mill Big Ten program. It's just not the case. So I guarantee from day one, the plan was to test the market and then to test the market again. And I've told you guys from multiple times now that in this modern era of college football, if you are one, and college basketball, if you are one of the best players in the country, there are no limitations to how much money you can make. And on one hand, as a capitalist, that makes me very happy, but on the other, it's not good for the institutions. Okay. These players, if they wanted to, I'm just telling you guys like it is. I'm telling you guys the reality of the situation. If a really good recruit like Kadyn Proctor wanted to, they could do exactly what Kadyn Proctor just did. They could, and we've already seen it. We've seen Caleb Williams transfer to multiple schools. We've seen multiple top-tier quarterbacks go from one school to the next. And the reason they're doing it is to test their value on the market and to get more money. And like I said, on a certain level, I understand it. But those of you who are still living in this naivete of the college sports world, college football, college basketball, you guys need to stop. You guys need to get out of it. Kadyn Proctor and other high-level recruits, if they want to, every single year, they can choose to hit the transfer portal, get money from a school, and then hit the transfer portal again before the season even starts and get money from another school as well, and basically double dip. So anyways, those are essentially my thoughts on it. Like I said, I only have so much time. I do want to read this article from 247 Sports. This is crazy, guys. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I was surprised, but I'm not, because I've been doing this for a long time. I'm not naive about the current state of college sports. And, in the end, all Iowa has to show for it is a recruiting violation and losing money on the recruiting trail. But, to say that I was expecting this would also be a lie. I was not expecting this either, but I'm also not surprised in the grand scheme of things. It was a perfect return home until it wasn't. On Tuesday afternoon, sources confirmed to 247 Sports that Iowa O-line Kadyn Proctor intends to leave the Hawkeye football program after arriving on campus in January. He's expected to return to Alabama when the second transfer portal window opens. It was a perfect return home until it wasn't on Tuesday afternoon. Sources confirmed to 247 Sports. Okay, I already read that. He's expected to return to Alabama when the news was first officially reported by Athletics' Scott Docterman. Proctor started 14 games. Anyways, this doesn't have any new news. This is what he said. Fans, that doesn't really matter. It's ultimately, what do I want to do? At the end of the day, all fan bases are going to do that. What happened when I left Alabama? Same kind of stuff. I mean, you're losing a big player and you can't really do anything about that. So you got to equate to all the hatred. So anyways, guys, I mean, that's pretty much it. And I don't want to give in to that. I don't want to give in to this type of behavior. Because at the end of the day, there's a certain truth to what he's saying. Players can do whatever they want. The modern college sports era is the totally the Wild West. I mean, it is insane. It's just too bad, man. Like, I'm sure he made some friends and friendships. And look at this. Back and forth from Iowa to Alabama, the Kadyn Proctor bombshell fits college football's absurd new normal. College football was never really a normal sport. The pageantry, marching bands, 100,000 seats, and so many other ingredients that makes it feel more like a way of life than a game. So if you guys want to read this article, you guys can. Not normal. Proctor didn't even make it at Iowa for 2 months. Nobody should bat an eye at that. Proctor then went to Iowa, very normal. A homesick freshman goes back to the program he was committed to for long stretches of his high school recruiting process. Nobody should bat an eye at that sort of decision. Not normal. Proctor didn't even make it at Iowa for 2 months. Bombshell. That's the only way to describe the news. I received multiple messages from college staffers in the minutes after it broke, all with the same sentiment. What? Iowa was set to begin spring ball Wednesday. Proctor worked out with Hawkeyes all offseason. He signed NIL deals in Iowa City per The Athletic. None of that mattered. On one hand, Proctor is just a college freshman. They change their mind. They get cold feet. It's normal. Think back on what you did at 18. On the other, Proctor commands significant money via NIL deals. He's a professional in every way except he had to go to class. In every other professional sports, contracts and guidelines would keep him at one school. Instead, he'll be at 3 in 2 months. Proctor's new NIL deals at Iowa didn't matter. They can't tie him to the school. The NCAA rules don't matter either. They can't be enforced. College football simply isn't operated like any other sport or business in America. There is no one entity in charge of it all. The NCAA is just a bureaucratic organization that encompasses more than 1,000 schools across many divisions and conferences. Instead, there are individual actors, all of which look out for the best interests of their league or school. Once upon a time, rules were bent and broken. There are no rules anymore. The combination of short-sighted management and state governments creating laws designed to benefit their local programs has created a lawless version of college football. Yes, there are regulations governing name, image, and likeness, but no, they can't be enforced. Yes, there are transfer restrictions limiting how often an undergrad can leave, but they can't be enforced either. Court rulings in jurisdictions have crippled any semblance of boundaries in college athletics, and it's spilling over to roster management. So anyways, guys, just my final thoughts here because I got to get going. I'm positive that during this whole process, including the days that he committed to Iowa, even the week of, I guarantee there were large donors at Alabama throwing large sums of money at him. And it's just a shame because I wish that he was honest about it. I wish Kadyn Proctor manned up and said, you know what? No, it is. It is about the money. And Alabama offered more. And there's going to be some of you Iowa fans that don't like me saying this, and I already know that there's going to be some Iowa fans who say, "Well, you're the problem. People like you are the problem who say that it's all about the money, but it's not about the money." I don't care. You guys are living in la la land. You guys might have been able to say that when it first happened, but this is proof positive that it is, and I guarantee from the moment he stepped onto Iowa campus, he was, and it's not just Kadyn Proctor. I guarantee him, his mom, his other family members were having some of the highest rollers that are Alabama fans, including other schools, saying, Kadyn, if you come back to Alabama, we'll give you this, and this. Just sign here, and and it'll all be fine. I guarantee that is what happened. I am so positive of that. And that article illustrated exactly where we're at with college sports. Like I said, for me personally, on one hand, I want everybody, you, me, Kadyn Proctor, everybody to make as much money as possible. But that's me as an individual, okay? Like I said, I'm a capitalist. When it comes to being a fan of Iowa, yes, this definitely hurts. This sucks. As a fan of Iowa, I wish that Iowa, if we would have known what we know now, it would have been far better for Iowa to hold on to that money and put it into other players in the transfer portal who maybe weren't as talented as Kadyn Proctor, but would make an impact on the roster and could round out the roster. And I think that that's really what is going to separate teams like Iowa and, some of these like not blue blood, but good programs is ultimately, will you be able to find those individuals that add value to your roster, but don't break the bank? That's what this is going to be about, because there's only so much money that the Iowa NIL Swarm Collective and all of these other things have. And what they gave to Kadyn Proctor is all down the drain. It's all down the drain. So that's going to be like the deciding factor to until this gets regulated in some way and there's actual guiding posts to how this is operated. The only way Iowa is going to be able to survive is managing finding players of value, but not making their resources for nothing. Okay. In business, they call that risk management or risk assessment. So this hurts, guys. I know you're hurting. It sucks. There is no other way around this. I wish I could tell you that I was surprised. It definitely was like I said at the beginning, it was a surprise as far as I thought everything was fine. But knowing what I know, and now what you should know after what I've said to you in this video about college football and where things stand in college sports, well, specifically college football, because I need to stop saying college sports, because it's not college sports. It's really only college football and basketball. It's not surprising. And you guys need to get your minds wrapped around that as well. So it is what it is, guys. It is what it is. It is what it is. And that's why I said that I'm going to do a video on what needs to happen. Recently, I saw a video from Clay Travis where he said that, and I saw it was Clay Travis and there was somebody else that I saw. I think it was Jay Billis, who said that college basketball, not the other sports, but college basketball and college football, these players, especially at the major conferences, need to become like W-2 employees where they're no longer amateur athletes. And it's, I could talk about this for days, guys, because on one hand, you have the South Park episode where Eric Cartman is the joke is that the NCAA basically owns these players and the players get very little. And now it's the opposite, where it's gone the opposite direction, where the players have all the power, every single ounce of it, and including the coaches in their own way for their own contracts. So I heard Jay Billis say the thing about the W-2s. Clay Travis has said that that basically college football needs to become its own separate entity, and college basketball, and they need to separate themselves from the NCAA and create their own unique organization. And I definitely agree with that. They do need to create their own organization. And the schools that have these programs, especially at the Power 5 level, need to have two separate departments, the college football and college basketball departments and the rest. But the problem is that if you guys are not aware, college basketball and college football basically subsidizes all the other sports on campus. So it's very interesting. I'll do a separate video on that because it'll take too long to talk about, and I just don't have that much time. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section. And last but not least, DBAP, don't be a pussy willow on facts or feelings, because your feelings just don't matter. Hang in there, Iowa fans. Love you guys. Go Hawks.